Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and thanks for tuning in to another epic battle in Thrones of Britannia. This is a 1v1 town assault, and it comes down to just a handful of men left on the battlefield. So I do hope you enjoy, and without further ado, let's take a look at the army comps. The first army on the battlefield today is Circenn, commanded by myself, and this is the Scottish faction that is playable in Thrones of Britannia, and I am attacking, so I brought an army that's heavily focused on shock aspects, so I don't actually have any skirmishers whatsoever. It's just a ton of sword and axe infantry, but we'll go ahead and take a look at them in more detail. So in the front lines, I've got 4 units of these Alban axemen, and you can take a look at their stats there. Not too much armor on them, but they do have a shield, which will help against enemy missile fire. And their melee skill, melee damage, and charge bonus is pretty solid for a tier 1 unit. And obviously I do have a catapult. I was allowed to bring 1 catapult because I am the attacker. And in the second line, I've got 3 units of Cateran axemen. These 2 are tier 2. Or these guys are tier 2, I should say. A lot less armor, though. You can see the difference of the armor on the Alban axemen. They've got like a leather breastplate. These guys don't have anything, and they've got smaller buckler shields, but still all around pretty solid melee skill and melee damage. And then we're getting into my more elite units. I've got the Alban warriors, which just look fantastic. They are tier 3, 25 armor with a shield of 30. And really solid melee skill and melee damage. And then finally, right at the back, I've got 4 units of sword warriors, which are tier 2. Not as much armor as the tier 3 Alban warriors, but their shield also offers them 30 and pretty solid melee skill and melee damage. And my only cavalry unit that I brought to the battlefield is my general, which is the elite royal followers, and there is my general there looking very awesome. And that pretty much rounds out my force. So as I said, it's a blitzkrieg army basically. I just want to charge forwards as quickly as I can once the catapult has used up its ammo and get into melee. But that is it for Circenn's force, so let's go ahead and take a look at the defenders. The defending army on the battlefield today is Northumbria, commanded by the Red Celt, and town assaults are very interesting in Thrones of Britannia in the fact that they actually don't really offer any good defensible positions. They do offer choke points in between the houses themselves, but the Red Celt does not have access to any towers whatsoever. So it kind of levels the playing field, so he's really going to have to utilize the choke points to his advantage. But one thing that he does have over me is he has brought some very nice archers. I believe these are Danelaw archers, and they are a tier 3 bow unit. So he's brought 4 of them, so that is definitely going to give him the edge skirmish-wise. And then for his main infantry over here, he's got 6 units of the fyrd spearmen, which are tier 2. Really low armor, shield is 30 though, and attack against cavalry plus 20. Joke's on him though, because I didn't bring any cavalry. But he's also got 2 units of Northymbrian thanes here, which are again tier 1. Solid spear unit though, they do have some armor. He's got his general over here, which is the Warlord's Companions, and there is the general there, the Northumbrian general. So that is the bulk of his force. Deployed over here, though, he does have 4 units of Sword Herdmen, again, tier 1, but they've got mail, so they've got 25 armor with a 30 shield, so that's pretty standard to what my most elite units are, the Alban swords. In the trees over here, though, he does have a few units hidden. He's got some Danelaw javelins, 1 unit, and he's also got some Jarl's horsemen here, which are tier 2 retinue cavalry. And what else does he have? I thought he had 1 more unit in the trees, or is that it? No, he's got the 3 there, which is good, but this is his pride and joy. 1 unit of Berserkers, tier 3. This is a terrifying unit for those of you guys that have not played in Thrones of Britannia. Look at that melee skill, 50 melee skill, 38 melee damage, charge bonus of 65, so you really want to utilize that charge bonus effectively. Also, putting them in wedge gives them a 8 plus 18 charge bonus, so that goes up to over 80. So really good armor there as well, and they do have shields. So this is going to be a very terrifying unit on the battlefield. But that is it for the Red Celt's forces, so let's go ahead and get to this battle. Alright guys, welcome to the battlefield, and as you can see, I have started my bombardment phase, and unfortunately for the Red Celt and his Northumbrians, there isn't really too much in the way of cover from the artillery shots. He does have his units set up in between the houses in favorable choke points, but I'm still going to get a decent number of kills before I have to push in with my swords. I think pushing up like this might not have been the best idea at first. I am going to get some solid shots on these sword herdmen here, but I think the Red Celt realizes that I have brought a catapult and eventually will pull these back just out of range and maybe hide them a bit behind the larger buildings. But yeah, you could just hear me wreaking havoc on those poor sword herdmen as he forms up his spears. Luckily, a lot of his spears do have the shield castle ability, so they will offer some protection against the onslaught of, I don't know what these would be, stones, I guess, from the catapult. But the other thing that the Red Celt has that I do not have is some cavalry, and he's going to try and bring his cavalry out to harass my catapult early on. You can see he's got his Jarl's horsemen here moving out of the trees. And again, I have not brought any archers to combat this cavalry, so I'm going to have to throw some of my sword units in the way and try and soak up the charge so that I can protect my catapult. Because it is a very valuable piece of equipment when you're attacking, and it's also quite expensive, so to lose it early on would really be devastating. You can see that I'm actually trying to move two of my catapults over to hit the cavalry with varied success, which is good. Now we've got the shaking of the floor as the stones from the catapult kind of knock back the cavalry, and it looks like he decided against that now since I pushed forwards my main unit of Alban warriors to secure the catapult so that it can continue to fire down, and killed 3 horse units with that volley. So it's really, I'm not sure if it was too worth it, but again, my catapult is already up to 123 kills, which is definitely awesome for me. The Northumbrians are a sturdy faction. He didn't bring too much in the way of axes, mostly because I think this was a medium funds army, like a medium funds game, so the armies aren't really too elite. That's why a lot of us have brought tier 1 and tier 2 units, so I don't see too many in the way of the axes that Northumbria can bring. But again, these sword herdmen, don't be fooled by them only being tier 1. I've seen them perform very well on the battlefield, getting, you know, between 100 and 120 kills if you can utilize them effectively and keep them away from enemy skirmishers. The fyrd spearmen, I'm not sure how well they kind of stack up compared to non-Danish factions or non-Viking factions. But, I mean, if we take a look at their stats, the armor is pretty low. They do have a good shield, and the melee skill and damage is pretty low as well. Like, my swords would be better. You can see better armor, better melee skill, and better melee damage. But at this point, what I'm doing is I'm going to try a 2-pronged assault, and I want to try and avoid these archers altogether. I'm not going to charge forwards because they're just going to have a heyday on my lightly armored soldiers. So what I'm doing is I'm dividing my units. I'm sending my Keteran axemen and my Alban axemen over this way, so it's about 8 units or so. I'm also moving forwards my catapult because it's used up all of its ammunition, and I was trying to trick the Red Celt into firing down onto my catapult crew. Try and waste some of that ammunition, and it looks like it is working for now. It's possible he didn't notice that I was doing this, or he may have thought that it was a misclick from me, moving my catapult into range like that. But I think eventually he does silence those archers when he realizes I'm trying to just waste his ammunition. But on the far left flank here, I've got my better warriors. I've got all my sword warriors, my general's bodyguard, and my tier 3 Alban warriors as well. So we got 8 units over on this flank, and the Red Celt very smartly withdrawing his Jarl's horsemen from the trees. And that was the main reason why I put more of my elite units over here, is because I didn't know what to expect in these trees. I kind of expected to maybe flush out a few units that were waiting in ambush for my men. So I'm really aggressive to secure the flanks first before pushing into the city. And there we go, I'm flushing the Danelaw javelins out of the forest altogether, which is excellent. So now I've kind of got a whole look at what the Red Celt is bringing to the battlefield. And the Red Celt, he's starting to readjust his forces to deal with my very wide flanks here. You can see he's got 2 units of Danelaw archers that will be putting the hurt on as I try to move my Alban axemen into melee. They don't have any kills yet, but oh yeah, that volley is probably going to hurt a little bit. Killing one of them. See, that's the good thing about these Alban axemen is they've got the shield, right? So that does offer them a little bit of missile protection. But oh yeah, as they get closer, oh yeah, a couple of them falling there. And there we go. Now he is withdrawing them, and we're seeing the spears forming up over here. And yes, the Red Celt is going to activate his trump card here, the Berserkers in wedge formation. These guys are terrifying to behold on the battlefield, especially if they are on the other side. So let's go ahead and zoom right into them. They are just going to frenzy charge forwards right into the backs of my Cateran axemen. And yeah, look at them just slaughtering the troops that were kind of caught in tow behind the unit. Luckily, I do have another unit of axemen that are not needed elsewhere on the battlefield, or I wasn't going to charge the fyrd spearmen. I'm instantly trying to flank around these berserkers, which already have 52 kills. Absolutely incredible play there. Over here, though, I will be able to outflank these Northumbrian thanes because all he's got over here are his Danelaw archers. So I'm going to use the Cateran axemen to block off any reinforcements and then hit the Northumbrian thanes from behind. And over here as well, again, I'm pushing the units out of the forest. And it looks like we do have a charge of the cavalry against my sword warriors, but we soaked up the charge and then we're able to cut down this cavalry with relative ease. You can see the other unit is already retreating across the map. But my general was pivotal in this. I don't know if I've sent him in just yet. He is over here, but my general is going to be tasked with running down all 5 units of skirmishers in this battle. And over here, I was really happy to see that 3 units of his sword herdmen were kind of clumped together. So this unit over here of Alban warriors kind of blocks them all in so that they are completely surrounded. It's too bad these bushes were in the way. I'm trying to find a good angle for you guys. But yes, men are turning tail and run, and that is because of the Berserkers. We've killed 6 of them, but they are up to 138 kills. So they are just slaughtering my poor Alban axemen over here. Let's actually try and get a zoom in of that as they just cut their way through my lightly armored infantry. Yeah, not much chance. But at least we are kind of tying up this flank. There are quite a few units over here that are kind of hemmed in, and they won't be able to support the front lines. And over here is where most of his swords are, so I'm really happy that I've kind of caught all of them. My general over here doing an excellent job running down all of these skirmishers. He's kind of just going one at a time. The risk, though, is that once I go after one unit, the other unit is able to turn around and then fire into the backs of my general, exactly as you see there. Luckily the Circenn horsemen, they're pretty solid, especially the general's bodyguard. They can take a beating on the battlefield. So there we go, running down these archers into the tree line. But yes, the Danelaw archers over here still fresh and firing down, and the 2 units that I had broke have returned to the battlefield. Over here, the general's bodyguard is just slaughtering my Cateran axemen. Just so much more heavily armored than my units are. So at this point in the battle, it's pretty tense. It's very, very close. The balance of power is barely in my favor, but we pretty much have the same amount of men on the battlefield, but mine is dropping much more quickly, and we've got the Berserkers to thank for that. Up to 289 kills. They pretty much completely slaughtered this flank single-handedly, which was very worrisome for me. I've only got a Cateran Axeman over here holding back these 2 units of fyrd spearmen. Thankfully, we did break the spear unit in the center, so now I am going to be able to outflank these spears and hopefully give a little bit of aid to this flank. Because if this flank collapses too fast, then the flank I'm winning on the other side, it's over, because it's going to be reinforced too quickly, and I don't have any more units spare and kind of sitting around that I can slow them down with. So it's really all up to the Cateran levy to hold back the terrifying Berserker rage. Luckily, they are just sitting there for now, so I think the Red Celt is microing on other parts of the battle. But here comes the general. He's desperately trying to get around my Alban warriors over here. That would free up 2 more units of infantry to help and maybe save these sword herdmen. But one is breaking and the other one is starting to waver. But pockets of fighting everywhere, which is really fun in these town assaults. I highly recommend you guys trying them out. Let's get a zoom in a little bit here of the fight. But that's what I'm saying about these sword units here. Like, the Northumbrian Thanes are pretty solid, even though they're tier 1. They've already got 37 kills, and they're going toe-to-toe with my tier 3 Alban warriors. And over here, these sword herdmen that have been completely surrounded have been holding for quite some time. And where's my general's bodyguard? You can see he is starting to take some casualties, but still getting into those Danelaw skirmishers there. I was really impressed with my general's bodyguard. He was fighting his heart out. But there we go again. More Danelaw archers over there, still firing down onto my general's bodyguard as we try to wrap up the Danelaw skirmishers here. There we go. Jarl's horsemen also breaking off the battlefield once again. It was quite annoying because they kept breaking and returning to the battlefield. But look at this, guys. So my flank has completely collapsed over here, and the Red Celt actually has my units surrounded now. So my poor Alban Axemen are the last unit on this flank to still be fighting. But there we go. It looks like one of the units has broken, alleviating one of the flanks. Hold, my brave levies, hold. You must give time to the other flank. If you fall too soon, your brothers will fall as well. It's almost like they know that they need to sacrifice their lives to save their brethren on the other side of the battlefield. Okay, let's not sit here for too long, though. So yeah, the Red Celt realizes that he is quickly losing the other flank there, and he has peeled off his Berserkers and the Northumbrian Thanes over to save his general's bodyguard. I had him flanked with this unit of Alban Axemen, but they have broken, and I am quickly trying to send more sword warriors to deal with these Berserkers. I mean, 356 kills, and they've lost 6 men. Absolutely incredible. Incredible display. And here they go. They are going to probably charge into this flank here. There we go with their shields above their heads. I would not want to be on the front lines against these guys. Just units getting slaughtered left and right. There we go. Take them down. These Berserkers are fighting their hearts out to save the general's bodyguard. Ooh, yep, there we go. Fierce fighting, though, from my Alban warriors, though. Especially in the face of the Berserker rage. Luckily, my Alban warriors that did break are back, and I was able to get a unit of Alban warriors around and flank those Berserkers, so their numbers have dropped 1 man since we last checked in on their man count. But yeah, my general's bodyguard here, he's a little banged up, he's shaken, he's down to 11 men, but he has really helped out the battlefield by taking care of most of those archers and not allowing them to flank me and fire at my backs, because I had a lot of pockets of fighting that I was worried about. where my flank was definitely exposed, and those Danelaw archers could have racked up a ton of kills. Huge charge there with the general's bodyguard to break the spearmen that were trying to outflank my my Alban swords here, the Alban warriors. That was a pretty incredible charge. I'm not sure if I got some units wavering. No, it looks like I'm just bringing over some reinforcements. I think we finally dealt with the sword herdband, I believe is what they were called. But yeah, just look at the death over here. You can almost see the ring where the brave Northumbrians were fighting almost back to back against my soldiers. And now we've kind of got another situation here. It's a flank on flank on flank. As you can see, we've got the berserkers here that had flanked my sword warriors. And then I flanked them with some Alban warriors, but then the Red Celts flanked them with some fyrd spearmen. So we were both fighting our hearts out at this point. But now the balance of power is definitely in my favor with 40 seconds left. I only have 750 men remaining, though, on the battlefield so far. Absolutely incredible. There we go. Fyrd spearmen finally breaking. Berserkers still going ham. They've got 66 men in their unit. And there we go. The enemy general has died, and that has kind of shattered any last morale that the Northumbrians would have had on the battlefield. Let's just put this in slow motion and quickly take a last overview of the battlefield. So yes, very, very good defense from the Red Celt, although it was kind of all over at this point. It was a Pyrrhic victory, a very close battle. So here is the battle results. So it says 815 remaining, but I think the last man count was 698 was left in my army. Looking at the general's bodyguard, definitely the MVP of the day with 295 kills. And pretty solid across my sword units, but the axe units, I think the 11, 34, 24, and 3, they went toe-to-toe with the berserkers, and they lost. But the catapult also getting 125 kills. General's bodyguard for the Red Celt, 278, which is excellent. And those berserkers, look how much health they had left, and 409 kills. I think if maybe he dropped like 3 units of archers and got another berserker unit, he probably would have won that battle. The cavalry doing all right. A couple of the spears doing pretty solid, 97 and 195. But his swords, they just didn't get as many kills as my swords. So I think that's where maybe I had a little bit of an edge over him. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed today's battle. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. And as always, I will see you in the next one.